Perhaps you were shocked as well. We were when we learned this week the 2 parolees accused of raping and killing at least 4 women were actually wearing GPS trackers when the crimes occurred. The system clearly did not work, but was the problem the technology?
Yeah, joining us live to talk about that technology, Robert Lauder, the CEO of E-Agency Mobile Security. Robert, your company touts itself as something that can actually help save lives. So what was your reaction when you heard about these 2 men being charged with such heinous crimes allegedly conducted while they wore ankle bracelets?
Well, first of all, Penny, the first thought that came to my mind was how were they deploying this GPS technology? Because there's 2 ways they can deploy it. One way is by creating an electronic fence, which means if they were to give them sort of like a GPS fence that says if you leave this area, we're going to give a real-time alert, and then we can send an officer to come get you because you violated your parole or whatever. On the other hand, it appears that they did a more passive approach, so the GPS tracking system really was only valid from a retroactive perspective. So it certainly was not any kind of home arrest or any kind of limitation to their ability to travel. And remember that these 2 people also, back in 2012, cut their bracelets off and escaped to Vegas, where they were arrested by federal authorities. So big question here is, why were they out there still on the street in the first place?
Yeah, and it raises a lot of questions, and I want to know this electronic fence concept you're talking about. Is that technology so much more difficult to add that layer than having the passive approach?
No, it's widely available. As a matter of fact, you can get geofencing technology for your children. If they have a phone and they leave a particular area, you'll get an immediate alert. So law enforcement has access to this. This type of technology is used in typically when there's a home arrest, and they want to know if the individual actually leaves his or her home, and then they can violate them for that. So it just, for some reason, they weren't using that, and I can't speak to why the judge ordered or the federal or state officials ordered it the way they did, but that's what it appears to be.
But in general, I mean, you've worked with law enforcement, and I wonder whether, even when the technology is appropriate and works the way it's supposed to, if there's enough people to actually monitor and respond when they see something wrong, if they see it.
Well, first of all, there's over 500,000 registered sex offenders in the United States. In all my years of being involved, and this is the area that we're involved in, a lot of child molestations, we've had hundreds and hundreds of arrests with our technology. I can tell you that these people are violent offenders. This is a violent type crime. It's not treated as such in many states, and unfortunately, these people can commit violent crimes and then be given short sentences and then be left on a loose leash. And so I think that is the biggest danger. I would rather have a sex offender who's committed a violent crime against another human being or a child sent to prison for a long, long, long time and have very tight supervision when they're out. And I'd release some of the drug people, some of the marijuana dealers. Who cares? They're not dangerous like these kind of people are.
Yeah, I think a lot of people share your opinion on this. I want to go back to the moment in time when these 2 accused murderers and rapists, registered sex offenders, cut off their bracelets and went to Las Vegas. A little added color to that story is that they were sex offenders because they had committed crimes on underage individuals. So they were child sex offenders. And they went to the Circus, which touts one of the largest coin-operated video arcades, which draws a lot more children than some of the other locations in Las Vegas. And so that didn't raise enough of a flag for them to put an extra layer of security on this. That, to me, is perhaps one of the most shocking parts of what already was a shocking story. Do you agree with that?
I agree with you, Phil. I think you made the point as good as it can be made. Again, it goes back to sentencing guidelines. It goes back to what kind of rules are law enforcement bound by. In this particular case, clearly they should have been on an electronic fence, in my view, after what happened in 2012.
Okay, before we let you go, Robert, I just wanted you to tell us about your mobile phone app called My Mobile Watchdog and how it can help parents.
Well, My Mobile Watchdog was fashioned after the original product called Radar, which was developed for law enforcement specifically to capture forensic data and maintain the chain of custody of evidence for arresting people that would want to molest children. And we had such a demand from parents. We developed this technology some years ago. Basically, it monitors everything on the phone, gives the parents control over what kind of apps the kids can download and where they can surf. But the most important function on the phone is the ability to identify the very moment a stranger comes into their child's life via text message, picture, or phone call. And as soon as that happens, the parents are notified immediately in real time so that they can intervene and find out who this person is.
Yeah, amazing technology, and it's worth looking into. And thanks for your thoughts on an important story here. That's Robert Lauder. He's the CEO of E-Agency Mobile Security.